Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Now, when trying to lose weight, your mindset is essential to making any lasting change. In the short term, you may be able to motivate yourself to work out and eat a slightly more healthy diet for a few weeks. However, without the right mindset for losing weight, you may find yourself slipping back into unhealthy habits. Now, tonight on our fitness segment, we will be discussing what the right mindset is and how to master the inner game of weight loss. Joining us to discuss this is none other than the founder of Fit Dad Life Mastery. A very warm welcome to Adam Khan. Assalamu alaikum, Adam.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, very well indeed. How are you keeping, sir? Keeping well?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Excellent. Yeah, good. We're here. It's Wednesday. We're trying to be fit and healthy. Alhamdulillah. I'm trying to be fit and healthy for the last year. Hasn't quite worked for me, but I think it could be because of my mindset. So that's what we're going to get to the bottom of today. Now, Adam, how important is that? How important a role, rather, should I say, does mindset play when it comes to losing weight?
With anything really, anything that requires effort, time and persistence, the way you approach it, the mindset that you have in approaching that will determine your success and failure. And it's the same with weight loss. You have to have the right approach and have the right attitude.
I think that's it. It's just having that right attitude. I suppose it's about, well, I guess developing that strong mindset probably helps in this, right? Because if it's that kind of, I think I'll do it, we probably won't. But if you say, I'm going to do this and make yourself determined, I guess we have more chance of success that way.
Yes. I guess you could look at it as being committed or just being interested. To be committed, you need a stronger purpose for doing it. And the way I recommend people do it is, I recommend that people look at why they're doing it, because I do get people telling me, look, I know I should be doing X, Y, Z. I know I should be eating healthy. I know I should be doing this, but I can't seem to do it. I struggle. And I always ask them, look, have you really thought about why you want to do it? So with that, what I would say is what people do is they should really sit down, really have a think about what are their core values and beliefs. What do they really stand for? What do they really value? And then based off of that, once they've established that, is to then tie their health and fitness goals to that thing. For example, obviously this is Islam channel, and a lot of people will be, Islam is quite dear to their hearts. So if we could say that, look, what does Islam have to say about being fit and healthy? What does the Quran say? What does the Hadith say? And then say, okay, I'm doing this now for the sake of God. So it becomes more of a spiritual journey. For other people, it might be they're doing it for their family because of it. They want to live longer, happier, healthier lives, or live a better quality of life for their family. For others, it might be, I say finances. I call it 3 Fs to make it simple: family, faith, finances. And with finances, it can be career. They want to be better and more productive in their work, in their business, in their career. And once that's established, and then looking at, how all of that ties into their health and avoiding being ill and sick. And if they were to neglect that, how it can affect those things is what will help you to do it with purpose and meaningful, if that makes sense.
That's very useful, actually, because I guess I like the link there with bringing it into our faith, because ultimately we want to, we're always trying to perfect our prayer, we're trying to perfect our Quran and perfect the acts that we do. So to perfect our health in one respect for the sake of your deen and iman is also equally as important. I mean, I guess, one needs that kind of motivation, right? We need a motivation to keep us going. And I do like the faith angle, because when I look back, I think there were 2 instances in my life where I really tried to get into shape. And the motivational factor, one was in my early 20s when I was getting married, because I wanted to look good for the day. So you really work hard because you didn't even look good. After that, you're married, you don't care. So everything goes. And the second time, actually, funny enough, was a couple of years ago before I turned 40. And with a couple of friends, because we're all peers, all the same age, we set this thing of, we call it Fit for 40. We were trying to be fit for 40. And again, all of us dropped weight. We're hitting the gym. We're good with our diet. But there was almost like something motivating us to get there. Obviously, once I turned 40, it stops. So I guess it's motivate yourself, but keep that motivation going, right? I guess that's the key here.
Yeah, yeah. So again, with that, I've seen people getting ready for Hajj, Umrah,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
they've just had a child, or their child has turned 2 or 3, and they find that they're taking them to the park and they're struggling to keep up.
Yeah.
Or they've got a really active child and they're struggling to keep up with them, and they think, oh, it hits them all of a sudden. I'm struggling to take my child up the stairs, or so on and so forth. But in terms of, I think you asked, like, how do you keep that motivation up? With that, it's a case of once you know what to do, then having some non-negotiables. Like, if I want to get to X, Y, Z, these are the things, these are the tasks, these are the processes that I have to focus on every day. Weekly, monthly, weekly, daily processes, even hourly. Right. So getting obsessed with the process and then setting routines and habits and doing them over and over again. And once some of those routines become habits, almost becomes second nature. And again, when you first do this, it's going to be a struggle because it's something new, it's uncomfortable. And that's another almost cliche phrase, is that you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And you do that for a period, 2, 3 weeks, and then it just becomes second nature. You don't even think about it, you know.
No, true, absolutely. And that's, I think that's it, just keep it realistic. And I guess on that point, how important is it to have those realistic expectations? Because sometimes we feel, I will drop 2 stones within a week, which, it's not realistic unless you do something really drastic. So really, I guess, I imagine it would be, but how important is that? Have, firstly, realistic expectations of the changes that you are likely to make, but also, I guess, in terms of what you're able to do, because we may think, I'm going to go to the gym every single night, but how realistic is that in reality?
Yeah. And do you even need to go to the gym every single night?
Yeah,
That's another
that's
thing.
true. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So it's finding things that you can integrate into your life quite easily. And again, we talk about taking a lifestyle approach, and that can sound scary at times, but it doesn't have to be. It's small changes and tweaks that you do gradually over time. Now, with expectations, if you don't set the right expectations or realistic expectations from the start, you're always going to feel disappointed, and you're going to fail to recognize the progress you are making, because progress is not just a weight on the scale. Progress is if you're eating one meal healthier than you did last week, and you're doing that consistently. That is progress in itself. If you're feeling better about yourself, if you're getting better sleep, you've got better mood, all of that is progress. So having a much broader understanding of what progress is helps with sustaining motivation and keeping things up. But also not having the right expectations, you're always going to get disappointed. And expectations have to align with the time and effort that you're putting in. Now, something I say to clients is that don't be disappointed at the results you didn't get for the work you didn't do. Now, again, it depends on your starting point, how fast you want to see the result, and how much time and effort you have to put in. And again, a large part of a coach's job is really managing client expectations. And again, I think if we look at it like this, that it's taken years for us to put on the weight.
Yeah.
So we're not going to lose it all overnight. We'll lose it much faster than put it on. Like we might have gained this weight over several years, and you can lose it in several weeks or several months. But it's not going to happen over 7 days.
Yeah. And I suppose that's it, right? Patience really is the key in all this, I guess, because if you think you're going to drop it all overnight, you'll be bitterly disappointed. It's like that whole thing of, I meet someone tomorrow, I'm going to do 10 sit-ups and I'm done. It's not going to change like that. I guess patience is key in all of this, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I guess, again, it teaches our faith is about patience,
Yes.
discipline, perseverance. So it ties in with that, and it trains us to have more discipline and patience. And one of the hallmarks of Islam is discipline and restraint.
Yes.
And so all of that, it all connects, and it trains us for that purpose. But with patience and perseverance, anyone will get to the goal. What I always say is, look, it's much better to do something consistently and constantly, even if it's a tiny little thing, than to do, and do it like at even 30%, 20% is better than doing 100% for 1 week and then doing nothing after that.
Now that makes so
And
much sense. Yeah.
and that ties in with that hadith as well, where Prophet ﷺ said
So,
that the best deed in the sight of God is that which is constant, even if it's little.
no, absolutely. And this is it. It's all about doing things, small actions, but regular actions, inshallah. And on that note, really, because, we tend to get into habits where we're creatures of habit, right? We like to do things, and we're now trying to change our mindset and do something different. How do we stop the old, I say habits, bad habits, coming back and reappearing in this new, changed life that we want to live?
Yeah. So I was talking about the habits. One of the things is that habits compound over time. They compound and they have a dramatic effect. Now, in terms of avoiding relapse, there's always going to be this fear of relapse. That's always going to be there. We always have to employ a level of consciousness and what we call food taqwa. Now, especially in the environment that we're living in, we're living in an environment that is conducive to obesity and it's obesogenic. The food environment and just the general nature of our environment, especially in the UK and America and places like that. Now, so you always have to be on your guard. That's regardless. Now, if you are aware that relapses are just a part and parcel of the process, that they're always looming over our heads, and at some point you'll have a relapse. But then having a contingency plan in place that if you were to have a relapse, what would you do in those circumstances? And having that in place and then executing that set of protocols if it does happen. The other thing is having some sort of a measure, something that, whether you use a scale, well, I personally use it on my belt buckle. When my belt buckle gets tight, I know that I have to maybe cut back on eating out as much as I do, or just start, scale back on the amount of junk that I'm consuming. And so having those measures or metrics where you think, okay, that's my limit. Having those, as I said, if you're taking a habit-based approach, the fear of relapse is much less likely.
I like that belt buckle analogy. I had this great moment the other day where I realized I need another hole in my belt. So it was the opposite of normally everything's really tight. So that was a great moment for me. I just need to keep those habits going. Well, look, Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Always great insight. I love these segments because whatever you say, I end up adopting in my own routine. So hopefully one day there'll be a slimmer Mina Basit Khan sitting here. Not Mina, slimmer. Basit Khan sitting here on the sofa, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Adam, as always, and hopefully we'll see you on the show again soon.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure as always. Jazakallah khair for joining us. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of the show. I know it goes so quickly. It does. It really goes quickly.